Jessie, you're very, very welcome to the podcast. And also Willow is joining us with Jessie, who is your executive partner or director or wise counsel. Any official title for the dog?
A guardian of poetry?
Guardian of poetry. That's pretty... No pressure, Willow.
Yeah.
So,
Jessie... She has to work into it a bit, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we're all a work in progress in some way. Are you joining me from your new centre? I have that sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My office. Finally have a private office.
Ooh, fancy.
It was the stock room, and the ladies' loo, and a hallway. But the guys who did the work on the building did a great job of just sorting it and leaving me an ensuite.
Lovely.
Yeah, so this is just a very posh.
Well, congratulations on the new centre and shop and everything. It's been quite a journey. You've been making international news in a way, reading the recent Guardian piece. And I mean, in many ways, it's not that salmon is unknown. You've been going for what, over 40 years at this point?
43.
43 years. Wow. So, but does it feel like this new venture, this new iteration or evolution, does it feel like any sense of completion, or is it like, do you feel like, what is your feeling around where things are at now with salmon?
Well, I don't know how much longer I've got left, personally. No, Sam, I'm certainly going to be around for the 50th anyway. Yes, the one thing, because for most of Salmon's life, when we didn't have a premises, things were just basically out of the house. And then the opportunity to come to Ennistymon and have a bookshop, that was in 2012. And but that was always the least. You never really knew, but I was told that I would have an option to buy. So we did a lot with the garden. The garden was just a rubbish heap. So did a lot with that. We had a lot of beautiful events in the garden. And but then last March a year ago, was told that we would have to find another place. So that was a challenge. And then Siobhan, my co-director, and who's and breast cancer. And I mean, basically 2023 was really crap. But however, not totally crap. And that Siobhan is fine now. And the serendipity and one good thing after another, really. We were able to buy what was Daly's pub, iconic pub in Ennistymon. And it's now very different in that, the garden, my beautiful garden, was bulldozed. That was completely destroyed by the people who were doing God knows what with that building. And, but I guess a trade-off in a way is that we can have events all year round in the shop. And it's taking out the bar, which we had to do, the bar counter. It's if you walk in and there's still all the old features. The only difference is that it's painted and there are shelves on the wall. But it's a big open space, and I really love that. It feels a strange feeling of community. It's weird. And people, and then we're on the main street where we weren't before. I can't believe the difference that has made. So people really do buy books, and they do buy poetry books, and they do buy all sorts. So we're getting in, the plan is to make the bookshop, which of course is separate from Salmon, but owned by Salmon. Salmon Poetry, that is, not the, it is to make it a sort of real literary hub and still have the secondhand books, still have the mixture, but books that you would find it hard to get, literary books and things that, so, high aspirations always, so that's, yeah. And my son, Tim, is working on that. And then Eleanor Cummins does she's the bookshop manager. and then events. So we're setting up events, and yeah.
Where do you think all that drive and inspiration comes from? Like you don't seem done, and like it's like you're obviously events have propelled you forward with the ending of the last building and so on, but you're someone who's just keeps going and keeps giving things a go and facilitating other people to give it a go. So there's an underlying drive there. Was that evident as a child, as a teen, was there a development there that spurred that on early on?
Yes. My father always said I was incredibly stubborn, and that's part of it. But I just always wanted to do my own thing. And at a fairly, my mother died when I was 14, and we had moved to California from Arkansas at that stage. And California was a bit of a shock for somebody from, I was 10 years old, 11. Anyway, and then you have to fit in. But as always, and we were also, we weren't, the working class family, I suppose, my father's family, even though, oh God, it's so complicated in the States. It really is. As you know, there are these hierarchies. My father's family had a farm, and, or my mother's family didn't, but my mother's family was the one with the sort of middle class sort of aspirations. I picked that up a lot from my mother, that, the whole thing of it's great that I was a reader, and it was great that I was doing things, and basically we could do whatever we wanted to do. She was very encouraging. The older brother was a drummer, and when we moved to Hawthorne, California, home of the Beach Boys, he was a friend of Brian Wilson's, and he did some sort of session stuff with the Beach Boys. But he's a very conservative sort of guy, and he thought that Surf and Safari was the most ridiculous bit of shit he'd ever heard. That kind of. So anyway, he didn't do anything. He wound up going into the army. And anyway, and the other brother, also artistic and with music, and I just got the word bit of things. And the grandfather was a fiddle player, and but my father's side, they were more the fiddle player side was more Englishy. Those things. A lot of the Ulster Scots, but for some reason, I don't know why, Tennessee and the States, perhaps the landscape was kind of the same, or land was easy to get land there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the great grandfather wound up from Northern Ireland. And it was always, I like to drink because I'm Irish. I'm Irish, and he would do these sort of Irish jigs and stuff. And I was the last, he was the last of 13, and I was the last of his 7. So I was very far removed from that family. I didn't get any of those stories, but my sister did, and my older cousins did. And like that, the great grandfather and the family were printers, but the printing works were burnt down by the radicals. Now that would be, and again, the name Lendennie, that fits, although I haven't traced it, it fits with Glendinning, which is the art's sort of old name, and English actually. but I haven't traced that branch of things. And he kind of disappeared after fathering my grandfather. Can't find him anywhere after that. So I supposedly opened a newspaper in Arkansas, and I never found any. Whatever. So, so that connects. No, but I always wanted to write, because as long as I could remember, I liked the words and making things up. And then after my mother died, you get this kind of, this free floating thing of, I wanted to have adventures as well. And again, my generation, I was too young to be a beatnik. I mean, I wanted to be a beatnik. And, these coffee houses and recite and stuff, but completely male dominated, of course. But that never stopped me doing anything that I thought, I'm a girl, I can't do that. Probably because of 2 older brothers, and, that you get that competition with them. yeah, I mean, I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave the States because I didn't want. My son was born in New York City, and he was 2 years old, and so hard to find any childcare. So after we split up, after I left his dad, it kind, I had a good job, but no childcare, and then again the rents. Even then, so and I just didn't want him to grow up there. So, one-way ticket to London. Seriously, you could get one-way tickets in those days.
What was the in-between part between West Coast and East Coast? Like how did your did you end up in San Francisco? I don't know. I'm just stereotyping here, but it's like,
yes, I did. But again, you see, the beat that is, you see, the thing is now, I have no problem. I'll be 78 on Sunday, and yeah, you don't have the right expression there, or you so oh my God, no, but no.
I've interviewed plenty of older people. I am impressed. I don't know. Am I meant?
I'm joking.
It is a powerful age. There is no doubt about that.
We were a special generation. I hate to say it that Donald Trump is the same age, which just freaks me out. I was in New York in that anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, you're talking about the hippie generation. You are.
Yeah.
But the positive, you see, there was so much positive energy. And so, I mean, we thought things were bad then, the war, Vietnam War.
Of course, yeah.
You just want to change things. You just want to, make things better. Why not? Like, oh gosh, this is like young people everywhere. But it so happened that it hit a nerve of change in the States. Anyway, that generation, to that positivity, which added then again to me feeling that I could do anything. And I didn't get into the hippie thing. I was more like Rolling Stones and London. I remember saying to friends that even if I was starving on the street in London, that would be fine. And I actually, we never quite got there, but it was difficult. But the feeling that you can do those things, that was all part of that generation.
Yeah.
And so that was it. We got our I had $300 and one bag and a 2-year-old and a one-way ticket and various adventures, because I was warned that I would be asked about money and stuff, how I was going to be able to stay in London. And because, people doing the hippie trail, they were like going to India, Kathmandu, but not a lot going to London. But, the rumors fly around, don't do that. Don't do this when you get to immigration. Don't do that. Don't do. And anyway, but I just blagged I was able to probably because I was like 23 and this sort of, the baby and a nice little white girl, and, then, pretty little white girl. And I could almost say anything to them, but it wasn't it wasn't difficult for me. I think it would still have been difficult if you were the wrong color, but I just lied my way into everything, it's so, a bit of between, we arrived in January of 71, and then Tim was 3 years old. And then there, Germany thing, one boyfriend to another boyfriend that was, and, again, the men thing, but I hate to say, kind of perhaps using the situation a bit. But anyway, Holland, we stayed in Holland for 3 months. And then I went, whatever. But I wound up saying, there was one, I was in the railway station with this German guy. And he said, look, why don't you just go back to New York? Why don't you just do this? It was one of those using the crossroads things. Opening up. Why don't you go? And I was thinking, God, I'm tired, and I'd been sick, and Kim had been sick, and oh God. And I thought, no, going to London, going back to London. So I went back to London.
Okay. And how long did you end up staying in London?
Okay. So looked around, and I'd, again, get contacts of Tim's dad. Looked around and stayed with somebody for a little while. And then I saw an ad for a squat, well, a commune squat sort of thing, an ad, because they were legal status. They were students from the Architectural Association and Bromley Council, the Southeast London, Crystal Palace. They had an agreement with them that if they did up the there were 3 buildings, did up the buildings, then they could stay. But they had to house people who needed accommodation. And so they had these categories. So they chose single moms. So I got it. And then that was it. Once I got there. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And were you working in the arts or drawn to the arts at that stage? Were you writing poetry?
Yes, I was. Oh yeah, I was writing and singing stuff often. Yeah. And writing. And
were you reciting, performing, anything like that?
No. It was what I decided, because I wanted to go to college.
Okay.
I couldn't afford. We couldn't, various things in America, you know, it would have been too expensive, everything, you know. And anyway, I didn't want to stay there, no matter if I could have gone to college. But so what I was focused on, doing a degree. And but first, see, the immigration people, I just about said anything to them. Anyway, so they were kind of getting a bit heavy with me. And so I said, well, heavy, like, hey, Jessie, what you doing now? You know? So I, one thing and another, my friend said, oh, look, my brother will marry you. Yeah, marry, you can stay. And so he was gay, and he was not that meant anything except that it was great. The wedding was great fun. But so he said, sure, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. So we had this crazy wedding that I wore this sort of pajama outfit that was made by another boy, by a boyfriend. And so then, marriage certificate. And then the immigration woman came around, and I said, oh, I got married. And she said, oh, good. Bye. And in England, then, unlike here, you have the same rights as your spouse.
Mm.
So I could, then I applied to college and went into King's College in London and did a philosophy degree, which was a bit disappointing, but and then started teaching. And then after 5 years, Tim, meanwhile, had because there were other children there, and he was, he had a great time, and it was all very positive. There are a couple of weird, but no heavy drugs, no nothing. It was really, yeah, it was.
So were you teaching like primary, secondary? What were you teaching?
Secondary, yeah.
Okay, and then how long did you do it for, and did you enjoy it?
Well, no,
you didn't enjoy it.
No.
So I'm guessing you didn't do very long.
Not the English system. No, I never. I was also studying kind of mystical philosophy and things, but it was all just such an English middle class focus. And I think it can't be more to for people on the planet than America and middle class English people. And friends, yeah, I had some friends, and I kind of sometimes miss London, but I don't like it now. But anyway, so I loved the kids and a couple of different schools. And they were mostly working class, mostly kids who were having a hard time. And all I wanted was to talk to them about their hard times, and that doesn't get them through the A levels. I was getting them to do some writing, but I wound up doing religious education, but multicultural religion, thank God, and but it was yeah. And then I met Michael Allen, who was a mutual friend, but he was in university in Edinburgh, and whatever. We got together, and after meanwhile, I'd spent 1.5 years living in the Poetry Society, and then I did. But if you talk to there's so many things. But because what was going on then was this big rebellion against the English Arts Council And the Poetry Society had been in existence in the early 1900s, and it was very genteel. So then you get these sort of wild men, all guys, coming in, hippie-ish or wannabe, but hippie beatnik combination kind of thing.
Mm.
And if I said anything about, well, I write, I was going to do, and they'd say, oh yeah, but here's mine, like I'm going to, no. And the only woman I remember coming to do a reading there was Fleur Adcock, and lovely poet. But anyway, so it was just frustrating. Some kind of, well, as I say, the guy, they'd come in and like throw the beautiful big library around, and they'd throw the books around, big, huge, and on the floor, and bang on the piano and break things, and so it got a bit wearing. But Tim and I were actually living there at the time because their housekeeper got sick of this, and after 40 years she walked out, and so we were looking for a place, and so. But I was working with a woman to organizing readings outside London, and it's kind of chaotic and kind of, yeah, whatever, but poetry.
It sounds pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
So like that sounds to me, obviously you've said it's a very male dominated environment, and like how aware were you of gender inequality and injustice and justice in general in the gender lens?
Yeah. Oh, very. Yeah, very, very, very. So I think so. But it's yeah. It just made me angry. But then I think I was kind of fighting with what the heck was I going to do with my life, and so actually the Poetry Society, and then I did the postgraduate teaching thing, and then taught for a couple of years, and then met Michael. And because he was born in Wales, but very strong Irish Catholic Belfast grandparents, and we thought, okay, where are we going to go where we can have this sort of writing life? And I was kind of hankering after doing a little magazine or something, being able to do. So the way these things work, the sort of full serendipity of it, we got married on the 1st of August and came to Ireland on the 2nd of August, which will be 43 years tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
It's the 1st of August. Oh, God. We would have been married for 43 years, but we only lasted for 7.
Okay. Well, it's an anniversary nonetheless.
But that's fine. I don't do marriage. I don't understand it.
As a construct, it didn't...
No, it just didn't work. I'm too... I just want to do my own thing too much.
Yeah.
And so, but when we arrived in Galway, we chose Galway at the university, and could probably, do some work. He'd done a genetics degree, and again, I got some teaching at what was the regional technical college then. Then I was going to do a philosophy MA, so I had some bit of teaching with that, but I had dropped out of that because I couldn't afford to do it. But we, within like just a couple of months after arriving, we saw something in Facade, little journal, about a workshop starting up in the ladies' club at UCG. And so we went along to that, and that's it. There's very little to tell after that, because magazine, I thought, okay, because like you do in workshops, let's publish our, do a little bit. So we did this little pamphlet thing, and then think, no, let's keep going on. But then again, 1981, people were still leaving. And, the people we knew, most of them, you'd finish your degree and you'd take off.
Yeah.
But Michael and I had come to stay. So, so let's do this, so that became the little thing, photocopy thing became the Salmon International, the Salmon International Literary Journal. And we did publish it. We did publish internationally. And then in that, from that time, then we've had bits of money from the Arts Council. And all those, for about 40 years, we've had Arts Council funding. but mostly it was, really basic. And the other couple of presses who have been around a long time, that point got much more, the majority of funding. And so blah, 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 blah. Lots of things. Obviously, lots of things happened. The first book. Then it was my campaign about women. Oh, look at this now. The women in the west of Ireland. Fuck's sake, goodness. They're not getting. So that was it then.
Because you're talking about the early 80s. It's still sort of a time where not a lot of social change had kicked in and very stagnant.
A bit in Dublin, certainly not in the West. A bit in Dublin was, there was oh gosh, forgotten his name. I don't mean, thing. Never mind. So no, there was right, women in the West around, and Rita Ann Higgins had come along to one of the workshops, and Michael and I, everyone thought she was absolutely brilliant, and the humor, the funny, the ease, the take on the world that was just so upside down and funny, and black humor and everything. And we said, "Oh, come on, Rita, you've got to start publishing big time." And the thing is that what I found with all the workshops I've done over the years is that you can have huge amounts of talent, but it's absolutely perseverance. You have to stay with it. And she was willing to do that. And other people, I've been really surprised that they just, I don't know, don't think so. But she absolutely went for it. And so here she is now.
What do you think the thing around the perseverance is? Because I wonder if underpinning perseverance is kind of innate self-belief, confidence, is there because there's often a lot of self-reflection going on in the arts, and it can be really beneficial, but it could also be quite disabling if somebody's so self-reflective that they get paralyzed and they sort of drop it, essentially.
Yes, it could be simply, introverted, more.
Yeah.
I've kind of thought that maybe if something comes easily to you, you don't value it. Like, say, someone in a workshop, and I'll say, write a paragraph with, on this object in the table. And so they write this sort of beautiful, whatever. I think there's kind of a lot in that people say, oh gosh, because of having the idea that something has to be really hard, or if it's going to be worth it, or it's going to be that you have to, I've seen that actually. I think that's part of it. You don't. They would assume, oh yeah, I'll always have this, and it's no big deal, and so why should I? But again, the character, the perseverance to decide, right, this feels right for me. It's part of me. And if I don't do it, I'll suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, certainly I say about Rita Ann, and we probably, she, after time she went to Blood Axe, and she really did need to get out of Ireland. She, to get a perspective. And I wouldn't normally say that at all. But she was being told constantly, oh no, you're a genius, you're a genius, you're a genius. But you need bigger challenges than that. And, so we published a few of her books since then. But she's got basically 2 publishers, and she's got another book coming out from Blood Axe, and she'll do a reading in the bookshop in November. But the one thing, about her was that actually, yeah, it is some confidence, but more like maybe a fearlessness that she didn't care if people were going to say, "Oh God, what you undoing?" And that's really something to stick, because we had kind of a similar background, similar mothers, and to stick your neck out and say things, make yourself kind of would be seen as bigging yourself up or something, really, really frowned on. So you'd have to say, I don't care. This is me. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I thought as well that with all the books we published, all the fantastic poetry published. All this time, I'd like probably 800 books by the state. Rita Ann symbolizes Salmon. She's the epitome of what was, a working class woman who wouldn't have had a chance. She got support. That was the thing. Okay, determination, but she also had great support initially, and then going for it. She's, support is good, but you have to have made that commitment first. Because all this work, you could be phoning somebody up. Why aren't you writing? As I say to a couple of people I know, look, you should be writing. And then, or why didn't you write? And they'd say, oh no, maybe I learned. But you didn't have to do that with Rita Ann. And she just knew, and she got tremendous satisfaction out of it. Again, in the face of obstacles. So that everything about that she would be like quintessential Salmon poet.
What kind of obstacles did you face yourself in establishing Salmon, or in your own poetry, in your own work? I'm assuming there were plentiful.
Well, apart from never learning to brush my hair,
that's not necessarily an obstacle. It's the freedom to not brush your hair.
See, this is it. Do you know that there's a famous Jenny Joseph poem, English Jenny Joseph, and it's when I grow old, I shall wear purple and learn to spit and run my cane around the railings on the sidewalk, and this is like saying, hey, I don't care, I'm going to be free, I'm not going to worry about this stuff. And I feel a bit of that now. And we just did an anthology called Well, You Don't Look It. Irish women in Ireland writing about aging. And that's, really, really, really like that, but a range of how people take it. And I personally don't feel that older women are invisible. I know what that means. I know what that means, but I kind of not able to let myself be invisible.
No, well, you're not making yourself invisible currently by joining this podcast, and opening a prominent centre on the main street in Ennistymon won't help invisibility either. So you're appearing in The Guardian and every second newspaper. So, I mean, look, invisibility is another way of talking about energy and purpose, that you're active, and by definition of being active, you're going to get seen, one way or the other.
Yeah. I just never wanted. I mean, there were crazy things with, like, the concerted effort to get rid of Salmon in the 90s, and by press, I'm not going to mention names, and people can figure it out.
Yeah, we won't get into
no
legal quagmires.
No.
Okay, but let's say like a certain press and certain forces were at play.
Writing nasty reviews that asked for that there was a magazine, and they'd ask for a review copy. So okay, then, and then savage them and say, these people shouldn't even be out of a workshop, and you can't blame the poor efforts for wanting to get published, but you can blame the editor. That kind of. And there was, at the time, the original, my first literature officer I dealt with was Lawrence Cassidy. And he was absolutely great. He was and again, you say timing and stuff. And Rita Ann, Lawrence Cassidy, the workshop, and I don't mean to neglect Aoife Burke, which is the first book we did, Goddess Ganella, and then Goddess from the Review Bus. But, a German woman living in Galway, beautiful poet. She's still publishing, of course. All the women who started with us are still publishing. And anyway, there was just this nasty thing. Anyway, Laura Cassidy died very unfortunately, young, really. And the person who took over from him didn't like me, I don't know what, but there was an effort then, they shouldn't be having money, blah, blah. But as, the times were changing, and the times were much more about being egalitarian. And, you know, who's going to like police the poets? So at Courts, there was a panel in whenever, the 90s, I guess, you know, okay, if only certain people are going to be able to write poetry, as was, you know, we have this Irish poem and this way it's to be written. And who are these people coming in writing about all this, these women and stuff, or anybody writing about anything that was not sanctioned? Even after Patrick Kavanaugh, I mean, you could get your landscape people, but would you be writing about your relationships deeply? Would you be writing about things that would affect people day to day? And you know, anyway, so I was very much in it's ground up, not top down. And you know, you have to be careful with that stuff now, because I think that's populist. But I say the good populism, not, again, the dreaded name, the Trump brand of populism, us against them. Because it was never an us against them. It was just, hey, yes, us too. You know, let's do this, you know. And so there was just a big backlash against the people who were saying that Salmon was useless.
Yeah.
And then the Arts Council, you know, carried on that literature officer left. And Yvonne Boland as well in the late 80s and 90s was a huge supporter. And yeah, a lot of the issues were based again around Trinity. And again, you know, and that which, if you think of me, this working class woman from Arkansas up against Trinity.
So a lot of these issues are
like that before.
They're, you know, very much David Goliath. Well, you know, misgender up there, but very much, you know, establishment versus the grassroots, and also like a real distinct sense of misogyny, patriarchy, all of the above. Yeah. But there's really so I got very difficult in the 90s, and I also was having money troubles, and because I was still wanting to do more than should have done. But after around the time that I came to Clare, I was in debt with the printer, and you know, didn't know what I was going to do. And Siobhan Hudson, who had been working with me, I mentioned Siobhan earlier. She was going off to college, and she's now my son's wife. She was my son's girlfriend at the time, but he went off to the States to see if he liked it or not, and they didn't. They came back. I'm sorry, and so money troubles, and then I had Theo Dorgan asked me to come on his radio program at the time and talk about it. So I did, and feeling very humiliated about it all, but still, like, I was still fighting, working, you know, trying to get the money together and having, you know, accountants who would, anyway. So Philip McDermott of Poolbeg Press phoned me and said, "Oh, well, I heard you on the program, and how would you like Salmon to be come in with Poolbeg Press as one of our, you know, under the umbrella of Poolbeg Press?" And I thought, well, and so I talked to, actually it was Laura at the time. So this was 92. So what I was talking about in the 90s was that 92? Yeah. Oh, okay. Timeline. Yikes. Yeah. So I talked to the literature officer and said that, well, you know, maybe you'd better do that. At the time, they were thinking that would be good for poetry publishers to be under the umbrella of other people. So it happened then that they made an arrangement with the printer, and that they would give them so the printer kind of backed off, and that all got sorted out. And then, but it didn't work. It didn't work because I'm a lone traveler. You know, and I'm very grateful for the time. But it got Salmon back on his feet again. But then the Arts Council wrote in again, and
and Philip McDermott he got a bit fed up. He didn't really like dealing with poets particularly, and they were anyway. So he asked me if I wanted to take Salmon back again, and I said yes. And then I moved to Clare. Well, I was around the same time, and then that's it. Going back up the road again.
Well, I'm sure we could be here for days, filling in the blanks. But certainly it was a turbulent time there, and there were allies and there were foes and there were circumstances in between that. Some things didn't work out so well, some things then, but you survived, and now let's say you're thriving. Maybe bank balances aren't always thriving, but you're afloat, and as you said, perhaps over 800 books published.
Yeah. And my first priority is still when we get a manuscript is for Irish working class women, and then and then people we published before. So a lot of the people we published before, that would include the working class women, but also includes everybody else, including international poets. So, but and now you see that it's changed beyond comprehension, hasn't it? From there being like, 3 poetry presses and a couple of magazines and stuff. And now, gosh, I don't even know all the presses now.
Yeah.
And so much going on that so the central mission, in a way, is backed off from that, or it's not so crucial now. So now it's getting people out in the world, and which we've been very successful at, actually, because it is easy for me to be in America and make contacts. And there's a huge conference called the Association of Writers and Writing Programs. And they have a conference in Book Fair every year. And I go to that, and a lot of the Irish poets have been to that. And, so you're getting your name around, and as much. And now, I actually want to take some time off to finally do this memoir that I think 15 years ago, the University of Arkansas Press said that they wanted to do, and I never got around to sending them anything.
So you're feeling the time is upon you?
Yes, I guess. Yeah, but you see, then I think, okay, but there's Salmon stuff, and the manuscript. I'm torn, but
I for one
give myself a deadline and say, get everything.
Yeah,
and then
there'd be such a huge appetite there for that and for you, and also it's only going to benefit Salmon and everyone that benefits from Salmon, that your memoir, in the same way elements of this conversation pulls together so many threads, helps light other torches and so on. But yeah, time. How is one going to find the time or make the time? Yeah. But isn't that the challenge? Isn't that the challenge for anybody?
It absolutely is. Absolutely. Because you get this all the time of, one thing that works is a deadline.
Yes. Okay, let's set a deadline here. Let's set a...
End of the year. End of the year to catch up with Salmon stuff. And then...
Really?
And then what?
I think you could... Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah.
25.
How? So if you went full time... Let's workshop this here now, Jessie. What's your instinctive sense of how long it would take you to write a memoir? Are you someone that would write a couple hours a day, or will you go hard for like 3 months?
Well, I started loads. The main thing is so silly because if I was in a workshop with somebody, that I'd be, do you know what I mean? I could give the advice like
yes.
if I was, if I was doing a workshop with me.
Yes.
And I started also to see my basic writing style. That is the and satisfaction internal thing is the poetry voice. Now, the poetry voice does that, but the poetry voice wants to go up and do other things. The poetry voice wants to, I'd be describing. See, my first memory is of cotton fields in Arkansas. We lived in this house on the land of the landowner, anyway, and that was at cotton fields, and you're looking out to the horizon, and there's just nothing, and so I used to sit there, kind of daydream about all this stuff, and that's where I'm going to start. But that's the poetry voice. And if I just then I thought, okay, maybe like kind of like, I could just start with writing about my hometown and the time, setting this we're talking about the late 40s, and you can imagine, the NIGGER here and there and every that, common usage, and they were in colored town, and they didn't drink out of the same water fountain, and they could get. And I never got that, but it was just, I never got it. And my mother was very quiet on the subject. We went to church, Southern Baptist, went to church every Sunday. And I remember saying to my father, when I was learning about the Constitution, saying to my father, but all men are created equal. And in men, I always took that to men, women, to mankind. All created equal. So what's going on? And, he didn't want to get into that conversation. And and I always thought I'd go back to the States if a Black person was elected president. And so you can imagine Barack Obama. Oh my God. But then I thought, oh no, I'm not going back. But this is good. And a Black person rather than a woman, because Black people had just so much more to overcome. And anyway, so see that.
Well, that sounds to me that there's certainly the guts of a chapter. Well, obviously there's a bit or more in that topic alone of just systemic racism and cultural racism, but there's so many threads that you can draw on over 78 years, and there's the Holland chapter, and the London, there's the New York, there's the Beach Boys, there's hippie Vietnam stuff. It's all there. All there.
Carl Wilson was in my. We were in sixth grade and junior high together, so 11, 12, 13, and he was a really nice kid. He was very shy and kind of pudgy and wasn't one for. But like 11 years old, the girls in California were dressing up and going to parties. And one of my friends said to me, "Don't you remember going to the Wilson's house? That." And I said, "Well, I remember, but I didn't remember it was a Wilson or whatever. But oh God, never mind. That's neither here nor there. I'm not going to get into to the Wilsons."
So yeah. Well, I mean, the Beach Boys are so seminal and iconic in yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, who knew all these lives that you've affected also, and all the people that have been profiled and platformed and doors opened, and not through necessarily the prism of music, but through poetry and word and literature. And as we speak, people are enjoying books published by Salmon Poetry all around the world, which is quite something.
Oh God, don't make me cry, Rory. Don't make me cry.
You're allowed. It's an amazing service to humanity, and I look forward to reading your book when next year when it's ready.
I have to do it. Even for my granddaughter, I have to do it. If not for poor Tim, my long-suffering son.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, there we have it. I think your granddaughter and your son, but certainly your granddaughter, is going to be the fuse that propels you forward over the line. Well, Jessie, we've got a few more minutes. If there's anything else you're feeling stirred to share about any messages or insights or reflections that you feel maybe are surfacing at the moment.
Yeah, oh God, it's all these cliches, but the thing is, some cliches will work. Like follow what you really want to do.
Yeah.
And Yeah, yeah. No matter with the philosophy degree and the whatever, I still don't. I actually thought that I would know more by now, Rory. I thought I thought I'd know more by now, and I'm kind of disgusted. But then, of course, anyone I say that to is around my age. They thought they'd know more too. So I mean, but not like the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, or But yeah, you'd hate to kind of shuffle off and not feel like you'd actually done something.
I think you're okay in that regard. I think most people will agree. Absolutely. Yeah. And perhaps the experience of the memoir will assist in drawing all those threads together to provide that crystallization, if you like. Yeah.
And a big hampering thing. Now, it's so funny with me and I'm talking about, but is wanting to do something original. Now, you're not going to do anything original. You are, in that it's coming from you, and I agree the same theme from two different people, and it's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm stuck with wanting to. I suppose having done so much reading, and then I think, okay, I don't want to sound like that. Don't want to sound like that.
Yeah.
And again, I would probably get it done if I let the poetry voice have reign. It could get this done in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then perhaps I could do that and then go back and stick in some concrete stuff.
Yeah. Well,
it would be prose poetry, basically.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling as well, that it's and it's inherently original in that regard, in that it's
nobody had this life, I don't think. And actually nobody has my name, because the Lendennie thing had to have been Glendinning, because there are no Lendennies that aren't connected with us. I'm just on John, hello. Gosh, no, sorry, no, it's my daughter-in-law's father, who's just walked in.
No worries. Well, we're finishing up unless John wants to join the podcast. But it's I really, really appreciate your time, Jessie, and it sounds like appropriate way to end, in that you're being called back into service there. You have a busy centre and a busy place, and I encourage everyone.
American students that's from Emerson University this afternoon. So, yeah.
Well,
Dan Tobin and Christine Casson, and they're students. So that's another thing we've had for a long time. The students coming in the summertime, and so it's really good, really, and they buy books.
They what? Sorry, I missed that.
They buy books.
They buy books. Well, let's leave on that note. Everybody listening and watching, go out and go forth and buy those books online, Salmon Poetry, and in the shop. So thanks again, Jessie. Appreciate all your time.
Thank you, Rory. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I didn't get to comb my hair.
Oh, we really appreciate freestyle hair here on this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.